Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bay City Chronicles. We have been off for a couple of weeks due to holidays and other random assorted events. RPG limit break, cough, cough. And now we are back. I don't want to say better than ever because, well, were we ever good to begin with? But this is going to be volume three? Yes, volume three, The Book of Fate.
Hold on.
Chapter
Four.
7. Oh, it's volume 4? Yeah, sorry. Volume 4, The Book of Fate. Chapter 7, Romancing the Sword. You might notice that we are down 1 today. Well, I'm not going to say why. What I am going to say, though, is that it may or may not have involved a large battle, a finger snap, and a cup of Starbucks. But that may be why we're missing Dark. I can't go into any more details than that because something spoilers. But what's up?
You forgot the bottle rocket.
No. That's the otter rocket.
No, that's just what's happening tonight.
Oh, that is true. That is true. We haven't had a good otter rocket in a while. Speaking of that, we do have the otter rocket. That's OPT Lawyer. Yeah, I really... we had something. I kind of ruined it. We went with that. So that's Nerestra. That's Crimson Avix. You know them. Some of you may love them.
TG ruining stuff again.
Right.
I know. Who was surprised by that, right? We had this whole big Game of Thrones opening thing planned and all that, but I ruined it, so we're just going to go with that.
That's cool, because I wouldn't have understood it even anyway.
Well, that makes it all the better.
Exactly. I mean, when it's one of those funny things where, like, you know, the one person isn't in on the joke and everybody else is laughing. Trust me, I've been that one person many, many times. So
they were laughing at you.
Oh, you guys do that all the time anyway.
No, they were laughing with him because he was laughing at himself too. He just didn't know.
That is true. However, the last time everyone was laughing at somebody, it wasn't me, and I didn't get the honey pig sauce spilled all over me. But that's a story for another time.
No, that isn't.
Anyway, last time, well, we discovered that Lutra really, really likes ambrosia salad. And has a frequent buyer's card at the ambrosia salad place.
Because he went and bought, like, everybody's ambrosia salad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he got that.
Totally out of character. If you've never had ambrosia salad, you do need to eat it because it is wonderful.
I actually have not.
It is wonderful.
Like, legitimately, that was the first time I'd ever heard of it.
It's one of those things where you look at it and you're just kind of like, but it is very good. Krim is correct.
It's food.
We know, Nora. We know. Anyway, so in addition to discovering that Lutra really likes ambrosia salad, we discovered that there is some sort of weird mental connection between Phantasm and Merlin, and that Merlin's memories pretty much believe that they need something more. You guys need something more to stop Kismet, and that something more, through everything that you found so far, turns out to be the scabbard of Excalibur. As for where that is, what it's able to do, and how you get it, we don't really know. What we do know is that you figured if you needed to use Stonehenge as a sort of ritual conduit, you very much can, as long as you have somebody who has the magical capabilities of powering such a ritual. Where we last left, Phantasm had just sort of figured that out. So, without further ado, welcome, everybody, to Volume 4, Chapter 7, The Book of Fate, Romancing the Sword. So, you're sort of here, and you're all sort of looking around Stonehenge. You just sort of figured that out, and you're sort of all sitting around talking, you've just sort of come to the conclusion that if/when/once you find the scabbard, you could potentially use it as a focus at Stonehenge as a sort of ritual spell. So you're sort of staring at this. So I'm going to ask a semi-loaded question here, and it's going to be very vague on purpose. So this has all happened. What are you doing?
I have no idea.
I'm looking through the stones, trying to see if there's any markings or text or anything that sort of might hint to the location of the scabbard.
Lucha's just
sniffing
around, kind of randomly.
Anton?
Anton's looking kind of at the altar area.
All right, so first things first. Phantasm, go ahead and roll me a perception test. All right. Lutra can do the same thing since he's sort of sniffing around. You have tracking anyway, which is a perception test, so go ahead and roll me that. All right, and Anton, you can do the exact same thing as you're sort of looking around this altar. Okay, so first things first. Phantasm, you're sort of looking around, just sort of trying to figure out, you can tell that this is a place of immense power. And you're sort of trying to figure out, what it is. Merlin would have had to have left more here than just an inscription on an altar. And as you're sort of, looking around, something like small, glinty sort of catches your eye, and you sort of go find it, and you get to dig a little bit of the dirt up from underneath it, but you find what appears to be a rune, and this sort of rune, the sigil, kind of looks like the rune that you've seen Ven use, but it's a little bit less defined. And as you sort of realize what it is and make eye contact with this rune, it starts to glow, your eyes start to glow, and you're sort of having a little bit of a come to Merlin moment. We'll get back to that. Anton, you're sort of looking around this altar, and aside from the little bit of information that you've already found, you really don't see too much here. It really feels like there should be something here, but there's nothing that you're seeing. Lutra, as you're sort of sniffing around, for the most part, this place smells of hewed stone and grass and dirt and even a little magic per se. You're not entirely sure how magic has a scent, but it does. It's really like floral and perfumey. But as you're sort of sniffing around, basically on the exact opposite side of the monuments that Phantasm's at, you happen to be like, you're like nose down, like you're the bloodhound on the trail, just sniffing around, and you happen to sort of come across as you're walking, like your claw like just drags across the bottom of the buried part of one of these stones, and it's not hewn like everything else. It feels like there's been something inscribed into it.
Inscribed into the bottom of one of these stones?
Like it was inscribed in there, and over time, like the land has grown up, the soil has been pushed up, so it's just been sort of covered up, and nobody thought to dig down to take a look.
Oh. Without saying anything, Lucha just kind of starts digging, slowly but carefully, but yeah.
So it's definitely words, and inscribed on this, it's definitely a sentence of some sort.
Oh.
So you're going to have to dig a little ways to get to this full thing. Okay. But you definitely see words starting to appear as you sort of dig down.
Lucha keeps digging.
Alrighty. As you sort of dig and get down there, you finally reach the end, and what you see, or what you see, is the following. It's etched into the stone in all capital letters. because it was easier.
So,
To those who seek the power of destiny, follow the four to the haunting woods and place them in order. Then the door will open. But be warned, to find the path to alter fate, one must have walked in the footsteps of Lazarus.
Lucha reads this about like 4 or 5 times before he finally looks up and says, hey guys, I found something. I don't know what any of it means. I know, go figure, but I don't know what any of this means.
Anton's obviously going to walk over there at this point.
Phantasm hears none of this. And you're not entirely sure what happened to Malkir, but it's not the first time he sort of wandered off. So as you sort of approach this, you see the etchings on the stone that he has told you. What do you do?
I just point to the, or Lucha just points to the, where the words are. It's like, here, so somebody was screaming these really loud because they're all in caps, and we all know that means that people are just yelling. At least that's what everyone tells me anytime. They tell me to stop typing in all caps. Anyway, so clearly this is really important, and I don't understand what any of it means.
Well, hold on, Lucha. Let me read it real quick.
Lucha looks over, while he's doing that, Lucha looks over towards Phantasm. But calls out again, hey, Fan, what's up?
Fan doesn't respond at all.
It almost looks like he's having one of those lost in thought moments.
Anton's just like, Lazarus, but that would be...
Expertise history or expertise religion, both would apply.
Yeah, no.
In that case, an insight check, because that would be to recall things. You've heard the name? You're not sure why. Like, it definitely sounds familiar, but you don't know why it does. Also, why do I have a D2 over there?
I was slipping a coin.
Okay.
At this point, Anton's going to be looking for just kind of things that are grouped in 4 near... Are we near a forest or woods or anything?
You are not, but I will give you this one for free because of Arthur. You do know that back in his time, people referred to the woods behind Tintagel Castle as the Haunted Woods.
So Lucha would see this, but you kind of see Anton kind of shift in and out with Arthur. Now it's kind of more common for this to happen, but so we need to go back to the castle.
Oh, well, hi Arthur.
Hey, Lucha.
So
The woods are behind the castle.
Oh, okay. So we came here to go back to the castle?
Well, the castle you were at was Elmwick Castle.
Oh,
you have
sorry.
to go to the location of Tintagel Castle would be, which was Camelot.
I actually thought... Never mind. Whatever.
No, that's me as the GM letting you know. Nope, you're going to a different castle, so you're not. I'm not that mean to make you go back and forth.
Okay.
He is that mean, but we're not doing that.
Okay.
Right.
So we get to see another castle?
You get to see my castle.
Oh, is it really, really big? Is it bigger than the last one we were in?
Well, it was.
Oh, I bet it's really cool, too. What's it like living in a castle, anyway? Feels like with all the walls and stone being stone and whatnot, it'd be really drafty.
You have it much better here, Lutra.
Oh.
You have toilets.
Oh, yes, those are helpful. I didn't always use... Anyway, Fan, are you done yet?
Now I'm just picturing Lutra in a litter box.
Litter box. So, Lutra kind of goes, Fant, are you done yet?
Well, Fant, what's going on over there?
Well, Fant is like totally oblivious. He hears, like, he's conscious, so it's not like he's in a heap on the ground or whatever. He's conscious, but his senses are totally shut off. So he can't hear anything, he can't see anything, can't smell anything, including the litter box. So he's actually sort of having a vision right now. Not a hallucination, not like any of the visions that we before, but Fan is sort of in a frozen desert that is extremely, extremely cold. He can feel the cold against his face, but his body isn't cold. And he's sort of just wandering forward. There's a mountain in the distance, and as he goes forward, and of course he wouldn't see this because he's just looking forward, but in the comic panel, everything behind him would be black. Like, it's just an abyss behind him. And he's just continuously walking for probably what would be about 25-30 minutes real time.
So what happens if Lucha goes up and, like, pushes you or something?
Fant would be sort of, like, rigid. Like, he would sort of lean forward, but then he'd stand right back up.
Okay.
He's like a weeble. He wobbles, but he doesn't fall down.
Because I can't imagine Lucha would just sit there for a half hour and do nothing.
Well, keep in mind, this was happening concurrently to you sort of sniffing around and finding the text. So, like, the first, 5 to 10 minutes of this sort of fugue-like state was you guys reading the inscription, figuring out what the inscription may or may not have meant, figuring out the woods behind Tentacle Castle, all of that.
Okay. Same point with only 10 minutes less.
Yeah, I mean, you would sit there and poke and prod Fant, and he would just sort of stare ahead still. I mean, probably at this point, if you, tackled him, he would just lay on the ground, just not moving. You could tell he's still alive, though, because he's breathing and everything else. But it's almost just like he's in a trance, like he's hypnotized by something.
Okay.
You are strong enough to move him, especially because he's not fighting you, if that's what you so desire.
Yeah, I have an idea. Continue.
So, Anton, Lutra is sort of poking and prodding and doing all kinds of other weird, ottery things over there, digging around Fant, sniffing him, make sure he's alive. What are you doing?
Do I have a bucket of popcorn?
No.
Dang it.
There's not one on the plane?
I was going to sit on the rock and just enjoy the show here when Phantasm comes back. No, Anton's kind of staring at the inscription, kind of walking around, trying to find out kind of what's... if there's anything else around.
Nothing that you saw in your immediate eye. So, Lutra, what's your idea?
Oh, I just wanted explain what what position Phantasm's in when he comes out of his trance.
Okay, then. Describe what the comic panel looks like.
Yeah.
So, when Fant finally wakes up, he's laying on the ground, because Lucha's basically, like sitting on his ribcage, like, with his, grabbing his shirt and whatnot, being like, Fant, wake up!
So we just see this scene of like 3 or 4 comic panels where he's like Luthor's like picking him up, throwing him back down, and we get some great onomatopoeia.
Yeah, exactly.
With the body like thunk thwack, thunk thwack, thunk thwack.
Exactly.
Well, funny enough, and out of character, I'm actually really glad you did that because it allows me to play with this a little bit. But that screaming that Luthor was doing actually does resonate with Fant when he's sort of in his trance. But it doesn't come as audible as Luthor's voice. It is just shrieks coming over the mountaintops. And the mountains in front of Fant start to crumble, and an avalanche begins right in front of Fant. And right as almost like the dust that would happen from the snow, just the pillow of snow that would come from all the snow hitting the bottom of the mountain, as soon as that envelops Fant, he comes back to.
So as you're sort of sitting there going full on, Fant, wake up, you notice as you sort of bring him back right into your face that the glowing color of his eyes has shifted back to his normal eye color.
Oh, you okay? Holy crap! You've been out for 20 minutes!
Fant just looks at Lucha puzzled.
You have okay. So Lucha shrugs. Okay. So you were standing still in the middle of this place, and you were just nothing. It was just glowing eyes, of course, because that's the thing. I think we're kind of used to that one by now. But you were just not moving, not responding, and I kind of thought you were dead or something. But you weren't dead, but you weren't responding to anything, including Okay, so your back might be hurting slightly a bit.
Yeah, so we get a comic panel that's just, sort of Fant rolling over and feeling at his back, and there's just a bunch of little scratch marks and claw marks.
No.
Not not the deep cutting ones, but the little tiny ones where he's poke. Are you awake? Are you awake? Are you awake?
I was thinking more you would tackle him to the ground at some point to try to snap him out of whatever it was.
Well, that too, but there's just the all kinds of the point of the claw. Are you awake? Fant, are you awake?
So Fant sort of plays at his ear a little bit. He has an immense ringing in his ear right now. And he goes to say something to Lutra. But Lutra only sees his mouth move. He doesn't hear anything.
What was that? You're not really saying anything, Fant. You're just moving your mouth around.
Fant goes... he's really having trouble hearing Lutra. Because obviously the ringing in his ear. Can't even hear himself, so he goes to say something again. Once again, Lutra hears nothing.
Richard looks down and he's like, Fant, I can't hear you! What are you trying to say?
Lutra?
So basically, the comic panel shifts to Anton, who was sort of walking around, and he just sort of looks, and he just has this look of abstract sort of confusion on his face as Lutra is still sitting on Phantasm, yelling in his face, "I can't hear you!"
Lutra, I don't think that's gonna help.
Fan sort of reaches over with his arm and starts just doing stuff in the dirt. And when Lutra looks over, Fan has inscribed in the dirt, "Please get off."
Please get up. Oh, yes, right, yes, sorry. Lutra rolls off him.
A weight has been lifted off your chest.
Fan just sort of sits up, still rubbing at his ear.
Let's just roll the weight, but he's still standing directly next to you. Okay, are you okay? Can you hear anything? Can you speak? Did you lose your voice?
Lutra can actually read Fan's lips this time. Fan just says, "What?" But no audible sound comes out again.
I said what? Okay. Lutra sits kind of right in front of him and says, "I said I can't hear you," but because he's an otter, it's harder to read his lips because he's not a human face. So Lutra starts just shaking his head "You're not saying anything." Just pointing to his mouth, shaking his head, "You're not saying anything."
At this point, Anton's gone back into the jet, grabbed some ambrosia salad, and is sitting here watching.
Fan sees Lutra pointing at his mouth and sees him trying to say something. So Fan just sits there and stares for a second, and then it's and reaches into his cloak and pulls out a bag of Swedish fish and hands it to Lutra.
Looks down at the pet, looks over here looks really confused, "No, that's not what." Well, no. He opens the bag of Swedish fish and starts eating.
Lutra, take a hero point. So now we sort of take the wide, sort of the full page shot of. You sort of get to see the sunset as we have on our picture here, and then there's sort of the silhouette of Anton/Arthur sitting on a rock bench eating the ambrosia salad. We've got over on the other side of the Stonehenge, you've got sort of a confused-looking Phantasm, sort of sitting up, looking at Lutra, who is hungrily yet confusedly enjoying the Swedish fish.
Yes, that's a good way to put that.
Fan takes his katana and sort of uses it to help himself get up off the ground. And then just sort of starts walking back in the direction of the ship with the sword, with the katana just dragging behind him. Sort of looking down, confused as to what's going on.
Lutra finishes his bag of Swedish fish, and now with a sugar high, decides to start running towards the plane himself.
Anton, I assume you follow?
Laughing all the way, of course.
So as the last person gets on the plane, you just hear a autopilot engaged. Where are we going?
Arthur knew that one.
It's Jill Castle.
That place.
Loading.
Fant walks up to the computer and just looks down and reads where we're going. And then looks back at Anton with a raised eyebrow. and then just shrugs and sits down.
So he gave you the rock eyebrow.
No more the
Fair enough. So
before we take off, Lucha like grabs a pen and pencil or a pen and paper from someplace. I'm sure there's something on the plane with that. He writes down the whole thing, the whole poem, and then hands it to Phantasm. Also with a note saying, "You're not saying anything."
First thing, Fant rips off the paper and sort of looks at it a little bit, puts the paper down, starts writing on the tablet, hands it back to Lutra, and all it says is, "Sure I am."
Just shakes his head, like, it gives it this thing, like, nothing's coming, never mind. Just throws his head and walks out.
Then Pan also writes on the notebook and just... Did you say Lutra walks out?
Well, he starts to, unless you stop him.
No, he doesn't stop him.
Okay.
But he writes on the notebook and just sort of throws it in next to him. And all it says is Lazarus is dead.
So, as you approach where Tintagel Castle used to be, you're going to notice a couple of things. Number one, there's a giant hole in the ground where the castle used to be.
Now it's floating in the air with chains attached to it.
It's basically. And number two, the closer you get to these woods, the brighter your medallions begin to glow. Including the one on Malkir, who currently, for some unknown reason, is just passed out in the conference room. And no matter what you do, you cannot wake him up. You're trying, you can't.
So what you're saying is we have another rendition of Lucha trying to wake someone up.
Basically, go ahead and describe the comic panels.
Well, basically it's almost a repeat of the exact same thing with Phantasm, except he doesn't actually wake up, and finally Lucha just kind of like sighs and carries him to, is there any kind of bunk in this thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Lucha just kind of sighs and just carries Malkir's body like to one of the bunks, lays him down, tucks him into bed nicely, because that's what Lucha would do, and then just comes back, it's like, okay, he's out.
Also, anyone who read the inscription can go ahead and give me an insight check.
My insight sucks.
I can see that. So, yeah, no, forget I asked the question then. But you guys find a spot, and the autopilot or Fant, one of the two, sort of lands it down. And as the door opens, the medallions start glowing even more brightly than before.
Well, I did say that I wrote the entire thing down for Phantasm to read.
Right.
I didn't see him roll an insight check, that's all I'm saying.
He'll be back in a minute.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah.
Bathroom breaks are a thing, everybody.
Would help if I actually looked at my Discord over here when things popped up. Anyway, hi.
Yes, very much high. Much high, so wow. So yeah, you landed, and your chests are all kind of glowy.
Are they supposed to do that?
But they kind of just do whatever they want to. Whenever they want to, and then stuff kind of happens.
This is the first time that they have glowed without power being used.
I mean, this is a weird time for it to happen, but, glowing is not an abnormal thing.
I wonder if it has to do with being as close to this place.
So I'm guessing that's where the castle used to be.
Yeah.
And that must be the thing we saw before.
And Arthur's kind of taken over Anton and just kind of looking around going, what happened?
Well, out of game. Did we all see the flying castle? I don't remember.
You would have had to have flown by it in some capacity to get
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember if we did that or not. Legitimately, I'm not remembering.
Ven pointed it out to you over the horizon when you were at his house anyway.
Right.
So you've all seen the flying castle.
Gotcha. So it's not going to be much of a leap for Lucha to put that together.
Nope.
Okay. So Lucha's going to look at it and say, well, I think your castle's actually flying right now and is probably occupied by the person we're trying to defeat.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Also, again, you get out of the plane, and not only do the medallions sort of start to glow, but when you put a magnet close to a necklace, it starts to sort of do that jut out thing and get pulled a little towards it. It's not a huge pull, but you can definitely feel something kind of tugging on the medallions, sort of bringing you towards Tintagel Forest.
Huh. Anybody else have the really strong feeling to walk towards that forest? Because I really do right now.
I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I think we should go.
For the first time, Gant just follows.
She looks back at him and shrugs and is like, okay, well, that's... Alright.
Are you doing anything else before you start off into the woods?
Grabbing Malkyr. We grabbed Malkyr's necklace, right?
I don't know, did we?
Did you? Because if not, I'm grabbing it.
I don't think it'd do anything without him, but if you want to, sure, go ahead.
Okay, you've grabbed the necklace. I was hoping you would say that. All right, so these woods are huge. Take any sort of things you've heard of Sherwood Forest from the Robin Hood legends and just multiply it. This is just gigantic. And you're sort of following the path that the medallions are sort of pulling you on. And it is this circuitous, winding path through the woods that there is no possible way you could ever hope to replicate if you were doing this without the guidance. So we have a couple of comic panels we have to describe. So go ahead and describe what this journey sort of looks like in the comic panels.
I have no idea.
It's a forest.
Right. If you're asking what we're doing as we're walking forward.
Yeah, just sort of describe a couple of comic panels, of what's happening, how it looks, just it's theater of the mind.
Well, the entire time we're walking, Lucha is, just consistently looking back at Phantasm, just obviously concerned about what's happening. I have no idea why he's holding a light bulb.
It's out. There's no ideas going on.
I don't have much. He's kind of. I guess Lucha's leading the party at this point. If it's dark enough, he's got dark vision. So.
I mean, there's enough light to see by just sort of the flashlight ambient glow of the medallions. Although it's kind of weird because Anton has this sort of amber glow of the medallion of the everlasting, and the sort of like reddish emberish glow of the medallion of temerity. So he's like this really weird disco flashlight.
Phantasm's like looking around very paranoid because typically he is able to hear things and, you know, perceive what's going on around him, and he has no clue. So other than the light, he's totally clueless, so he's very paranoid that something's gonna jump out.
So this walking, it takes you about a half an hour. Because again, it's a very circuitous path. But eventually you make it to a small clearing. And standing there, as you sort of pass through the trees into the clearing, as the last one of you passes through into the clearing, a door sort of magically appears in the middle of this clearing.
Lutra?
Huh?
Do you remember what it said about a door? Back at Stonehenge?
Something about placing things in order.
Well, there's 4. Follow the 4 to the haunting woods and place them in order.
Right.
I think it's talking about our medallions.
Okay, so what order?
Where do we place them? Do you see any place for that?
Are you looking at the door?
I mean, yes.
Yes.
I'm looking at the door.
There are 4 clear places that match the shape of the medallions.
I bet they go in there.
Probably. Okay.
All right, so we've come to a bit of an impasse here. It's basically sort of the how are you placing the medallions? Now, as this is sort of a comic book thing, and as the GM, I want to know the reason behind why you're placing them when you're placing them and where you're placing them. So, if you happen to put them in the correct order and it's just I did it wantonly, it might work. But I want to hear the reasons behind why you're placing them where.
All right, so Lucha's going to kind of like take each of theirs, like everybody's medallions, because he's got an idea. So,
all right, go ahead.
He's going to put them in order of, I don't remember, I just remember colors. Not even,
in the order that they were on the tapestry?
Yeah, the green one, the blue one,
Earth, and then
Earth,
fire.
and then fire, yeah. So wind, water, earth, and fire.
Heart.
Go planet.
Nothing happens.
Oh.
What if we put them in the order we got them in?
I guess we could do that too.
What would be that order?
So that would be Earth.
Well, hold on.
No,
it would be air.
Why? You got yours first.
I was given mine from the future.
Oh, good point.
The last one we got was the Earth. We had to reclaim it.
Okay, good point. So, air, water, fire, earth.
You saw through my little ruse there. I appreciate that, because that is the correct answer, by the way. Had you put it in Earth first, it would not have worked. So, as you place the Earth medallion in last, all 4 medallions glow, and you sort of see this sort of magical, almost steampunky style gears just sort of dissolve as the doorway dissolves, and it opens up into, well, a sort of scape that Phantasm recognizes because it's sort of the same colors of the vision he just had at Stonehenge.
What happens to medallions, just out of curiosity?
They gone.
Oh, okay.
Yep, used with the door. Um,
I just need to remember that. Because Lucha can't watch Japanese cooking shows.
Well, he still can watch them. He just won't understand them.
That's what I mean.
So yeah, this is sort of what you see as this door is open. This grays, and there's not a whole lot of color. Like I said, Phantasm. Go ahead and give me a will save. You are not overcome with just fear, but you definitely recognize this as this is where you were in your vision.
Anton's, pulling together the last piece of that. But be warned to find the path to the altar of fate. One must have walked in the footsteps of Lazarus. So, what does that mean? Any ideas?
I don't have any. Fine.
Did Lutra pick up the notebook that Phantasm threw back at him?
I thought he threw it on the chair next to him.
Where'd you throw that?
On the chair next to him.
Okay, I thought you threw it at Lutra. My bad.
Nope.
But when Anton says that, Phantasm just sort of looks back at him and shrugs.
All right, there.
Do we have Phant shrug as opposed to fake shrug?
Yep.
So as you're sort of standing here trying to figure out what to do, Lutra and Anton, you sort of feel this aura coming from beyond this door, and it doesn't feel good. Lutra especially, it's the same feeling you got when you got that vision from the medallion of the graveyard. Like, that's sort of the same feel that you get coming from this door.
Anton just immediately pulls Excalibur out.
Lucha steps behind Anton.
As you sort of pull Excalibur, as you pull it up, it's weird because as it sort of comes from its scabbard on your waist, or the scabbard at your waist, it starts to glow. But as it basks in the aura of the door, of sort of like the colors of the door, it too starts to sort of lose its shine and its luster.
This is terrifying. This sword's supposed to be the most powerful item in the world. What is going on?
Maybe it has something to do with the whole fate thing. I don't know.
Well, we're on the path to alter fate, apparently.
I don't know who Lazarus even is, though.
I wonder. Phantasm.
Phantasm just looks back at Anton.
Well, at least he can hear it now.
Walk through and lead us.
Phantasm conjures his sword.
You conjure your sword.
And just sort of walks forward.
Does he walk through the door? As you walk through the door, sword sort of at your waist in hand, you don't notice anything different. It's like you're walking through the door to, the barracks back in 2008. Lutra and Anton both notice that as you pass through the door, a lot of the oppressive nature that was being felt coming from the door sort of goes away. Excalibur has its shine again. There's not that foreboding feeling from the graveyard.
Okay, this is weird.
That explains it.
What explains it?
Phantasm is beyond fate.
Okay.
And we're looking to alter fate.
Yeah? Who's Lazarus?
I don't know that part yet.
Okay.
But clearly, we're on the right track here.
Okay. So we should follow
next.
Are you having this conversation still outside the door?
Yes?
Yes.
The further Phantasm gets away from the door, the more oppressive the aura begins to grow again.
I think we should probably go follow him now.
Yeah, Anton sprints to the
Yes.
door.
Lutra and Anton just run so the comic panels are basically Lutra and Anton are looking at each other outside having this conversation. The next one is everything starting to kind of wither back down again. Lutra and Anton look at each other, then dart inwards like, "Oh, wait for us!"
Pretty much exactly how you would describe that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So as you enter in... go ahead.
As Fant is walking forward, and he's probably a good quarter mile ahead of the others at this point, while they were sitting there just watching him walk on, he stops right in front of a grave.
So Anton and Lutra, as you're sort of scurrying to catch up, you notice he's just stopped. What do you do?
What's there, Phantasm?
When you walk up, it's just a normal grave and everything. But Phantasm looks at Anton and then looks at Lutra and pulls his sword out and sort of writes in the dirt right below the grave marker, Lazarus.
I mean, this makes sense. There's Lazarus. He's dead.
And then, as quickly as he wrote the name, he takes his sword and just swipes it right across, erasing the name.
Go ahead and make an insight check. Okay, you get exactly what he's trying to tell you with this. I assume you're trying to tell him the story of Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, the biblical story of Lazarus is the fact that he died, and then 4 days later was resurrected by Christ.
And it all makes sense now.
Phantasm
Well,
just
Lutra's
sort of
never
looks
read the
back.
Bible.
Yeah. Well, that's why Fant was sort of trying to help him.
Right.
But Fant just sort of looks back at Anton and just mouths, "What makes sense?"
You died. You were brought back. You're outside of fate. As is Lazarus.
Fant just sort of shrugs and continues walking.
So,
Following closely behind, yes.
Okay. So, we just took like a whole comic page and sort of like that sort of narrowed out view of just sort of like walking, like the walking, like almost like a western where you have like the cowboys sort of riding into town or walking up into the sunset. That's sort of like this comic panel stuff you get. It's all sort of shades in blacks and grays with a little bit of reds here and there. And this walking goes on for quite a while, actually. Probably a good mile or so before you start to see something sort of formulate in the distance. And in another mile or so, you come across what appears to be this sort of citadel of some sort. It definitely looks like it belongs here because it's sort of old and not quite decrepit, but it's seen better days. But there is definitely sort of this citadel, and this is sort of like the path, this unerring path that Fant has been walking.
Yeah, just because it looks like it belongs here doesn't mean I want to go in it.
She looks up towards the citadel's like, well, that's a thing. How long's that been here?
I'm going to guess a while. And I'm going to take another wild guess that that's where Phantasm's going to lead us.
Phantasm just keeps walking. But you guys will notice something on Phantasm you haven't seen in quite a while. Phantasm's purple aura has returned.
Oh, no.
They're great.
Go ahead and give me perception checks as you're sort of at this citadel. All right, so Fant and Lucher will know. It's a little bit hard to notice because the letters are sort of faded, but above the door, you see written Arx Fata Legi Castorum.
Leggy.
Lucia looks at his own legs.
Why are you looking at your legs, Lucha?
Well, it said leggy. Oh, it's an I after that. I don't know. What is that?
Latin.
Thank you, God.
Can't you understand? Oh, wait. Yeah, that was your medallion. Sorry, Lucha.
Well, it was only hearing it anyway. I wasn't able to ever read it.
Phantasm sort of quickly. Merlin speaks Latin, so he sort of whispers in your ear that Arx Fata Legi Caesorium, or Caesorum, pardon my Latin, translates into Citadel of the Fallen Fate.
Lego my ego.
Mm-hmm.
Phantasm is sitting here speaking all of this, just no one can hear it.
You see him mouthing something.
That's not helping Fant.
He doesn't realize it.
I look back at both of you, and I had that look of, I can hear you.
Oh, Lucia looks over and says, oh, you can hear us now? Okay, well, at least that's cleared up. If you're saying anything, we can't hear you. Your voice isn't coming out.
Fant takes his sword and just taps on the sign and walks in.
Okay, I guess we're following him.
So you sort of walk in, and for as grandiose as this sort of looks on the outside, there's really not a whole lot. I mean, it kind of if anyone's played the game The Seventh Guest, it kind of is almost like the first floor of the mansion in that game, but much more run down. Like the doors to the side rooms are all crumbled in, and there at the back, on sort of like an place where you display a piece of art, you see a scabbard.
Well, that's my cue, isn't it?
Fan sort of just looks at Excalibur, then looks at the scabbard, and then bows.
Arthur's coming through Anton now and sees the scabbard.
Arthur
Immediately
knows it's his scabbard. Oh yeah,
it's the scabbard. Is just immediately reaches out to grab it.
Before you can reach out to grab it, there's sort of like a field stopping, and you hear this sort of, well, it's not quite that easy. You see, even if it does belong to you, Your Highness, there's more to it than that. And then you hear another voice. Yes, that's absolutely right. They did make it here, which is very impressive, but there's still more. Do we tell them or do we let them guess? And as you hear this, sort of on either side of the scabbard, these two sort of figures appear, and they appear like they're teenagers of some sort. But I got some pictures for you.
Again with the emo kids.
Yes.
I mean, did you rip these directly from Final Fantasy 13?
No. The emo kids are in 15. As Cham in chat says, these look like Final Fantasy protagonists.
I mean, yeah, they're not wrong.
So yeah, there's one on either side as you're sort of standing there.
Lucha's not standing.
Arthur does not recognize them, by the way.
Shocking.
Lucha's not just standing
emo
there.
Kids, and I'm not sure that Arthur would know what an emo kid looked like.
Right. No, Lucha's standing directly next to one of these as he's sniffing them.
Which one? Dark hair or light hair?
Light hair.
It's not like anything you've ever smelled before. It almost smells kind of vapory, kind of wispy.
So they're vaping emo kids.
Nothing that you've ever smelled. You got a sort of similar vibe when you were at the graveyard back in Bay City in 2008, but it's a little different from that.
That's weird. She looks up and says, "Did you know you're kind of weird?"
Only kind of?
Yeah.
Anton's chuckling over here at the 5-foot-tall otter calling an emo kid weird. Just
right.
That
and
just
the one
strikes
kid just sort of looks at you and starts scratching your ears.
Lutra.
What? Oh.
Yeah. White-haired kid sort of looks at us. Well, at least if they're going to be entertaining, they're adorable while they do it. The other one just sort of looks at you and goes, "You're not supposed to get attached."
Did he just call us adorable? I think he did. I think Lutra can be called adorable, but Fan, are you okay with being called adorable?
Lutra's tail wags.
His eyes are glowing at this point, and so is his sword, so I don't think he looks anything close to adorable.
Oh, him? Oh, no. This is the kid in the black hair. He's not adorable. He might be the reason you got here, but he's definitely not adorable.
Anton, seeing Phantasm, immediately just readies Excalibur.
But what? Now. If that's how you want to go about doing this, we can. But
You could do this really easy. Give me the scabbard, and we'll
It
call it a day.
doesn't work that way.
It's
We
mine.
can't just give it to you. It was put here on purpose. It was put here for a reason.
Yeah, that reason was for us to take it.
That reason was to protect it. Now,
From whom?
anyone who would use its power for the wrong means.
Kismet.
So it's quite simple. And the other ones we said, yes, it really is quite simple. You simply prove to us that you're going to use it for the right reasons. And if you can do that, then you can take the scabbard. It's that simple.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, if I tell you how to do it, it defeats the purpose of you doing it.
Oh,
He scratches your ears some more.
mm-hmm. But then, how are we supposed to...
And you just get this comic panel of just happy Lucha as the white-haired emo kid is just scratching his ears.
It's like foot...
Would you like to keep the otter? We'll trade the otter for the scabbard and call it a day. You seem attached to it.
Yeah, the white-haired kid. Ooh, can we? No. We've been over this before. You don't get a pet.
Oh.
House trained.
Yes, but is he Citadel trained?
He flies around in a jet. I'm sure you're fine.
You have a jet?
Yeah, we have a jet. Fantastic
So what
over there
you're
flies it
saying-
mostly.
So, you want us to prove that we've come here to use this for good. We've already been drugged, 15 years into the future?
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, it's weird because I got drugged at a different time than y'all did. It was really weird.
Yeah, that's gotta be really strange. It's gotta be like the worst case of jet lag anyone's ever had.
Yeah. So we were pulled 15 years into our future to stop Kismet from taking over the world. And we have to prove to you that we're good.
No. You have to prove to us that you're going to use the scabbard for the right reason.
Well, I believe the reason is that we're going to put time back to where it's supposed to be.
Okay, yes, you can tell us that. That doesn't mean you're going to do it.
Well, let us have the scabbard so we can do it then. And then you'll be able to see that we did it.
Well, if you really, can't figure out how to prove it in this manner, you can always show us how you fight, and we'll be the judges.
Can't you, look into my mind or something like that?
Are you sure you want someone in your mind, Lutra? We've gone over this a bunch.
Well, everybody else is already possessed, so I might as well do it again.
It doesn't work that way.
Oh, well, see, it doesn't even work that way.
I mean, I can absolutely, bore into your mind if you want me to. And as he says that, a couple of, giant shadow tendrils come up out of his shadow and start heading towards your ears.
Mm-hmm. Can you do it in a way that's not as scary looking?
What are we doing?
No.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy here? You the mice?
That gets a smirk from both of them. You're not entirely sure how they know what that is here, but that gets a smirk from both of them.
I'm not sure how Arthur knows that either, but whatever.
Well, Anton.
Anton,
Fair enough.
Remember, Anton, it's indifferent at this point.
We have King Arthur quoting from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's... I don't think we can top that.
Nope, we're done.
This will just shut the channel down.
I mean, maybe Spaceballs quote, but after that, yeah, we're done.
Let's say we've reached peak meme. We're good. So as this discussion is going on, purple glowy phantasm, what are you doing?
He's just listening to the whole thing. Sort of not even knowing. So he's sort of digging his sword into the ground, sort of creating like not really a trench because it's only the width of the blade, but he is creating like a nice deep mark along the ground around him.
I like you too. We don't want to kill you. We've killed plenty already.
Oh, you won't kill us. You don't know where you are, do you?
No, where are we actually? I mean,
well, there are many different names and layers for where we are, but this is the realm of the dead.
Oh, good.
So you can't kill us.
Because you're already dead, right? But you can kill us because we're still alive. At least I think we are.
Well, maybe.
well, you say that, but
Let me
how
ask
do you think the feel of a holy blade going through you would feel?
The white-haired one, just as he says that, he just sort of quickly, you see the sort of like a phase shift, and you can see through him now. Well, I mean, you can certainly try, but I won't feel a thing.
It's gonna be one of those nights.
Lucha just kind of holds his hands up. Look, we don't want to fight them. We don't need...
No, we don't want to. That's what I was saying, is we don't want to. We've killed plenty as it is.
No, it's not even...
We don't...
Yeah, it's not even that, though. We don't want to fight, period. Like, I'm kind of tired of fighting all the time. Like, it's... I feel like if we can take care of this, we'll be done with all this, and we won't have to worry about it anymore. I just want to go home.
Let me ask you one final question, then. Are you prepared for the results of what you will sow? And as he asked this question, Anton and Lutra specifically, give me perception checks.
I rolled
Okay,
really low.
That's back-to-back crits there, Anton.
Very nice.
Basically. So Lutra doesn't notice this, but Anton does. When he sort of looks up and asks that question, he is looking past Anton and past Lutra, and he is directly staring at Phantasm as he asks that question.
So not seeing this, Lutra's answer is, we started all this to help Hunter. So if it's going to help him, then yeah.
we started all of this to stop Kismet. Because that's where all of this started.
Maybe that's what you think, but I mean, Kismet's just the target. We started this to help Hunter out.
Alright, but we were brought together at the docks for a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing certainly led to another.
Phantasm? You ready to do this?
Phantasm walks up to the person who, questioned.
For the record, just for naming purposes, the one with the black hair is Umbra, and the one with the white hair is Phantom.
Well, Umbra's the one who commented, right?
And that's more for the comic book readers at home. You get the sort of like the label underneath them.
So Phantasm walks up to Umbra and holds out his sword and just looks at the blade of the sword right in front of Umbra. He's not holding it out in a threatening way, but he's just holding it out as like almost enticing him to touch it.
He does.
And the blade is ice cold.
If he's affected by temperature, he does not seem to show it.
You've activated my trap card.
Phantasm sort of looks at him like he's not trying to affect him by anything, but he sort of looks at him like with knowing eyes and nods his head. Not like a yes nod, but sort of like
A solemn one.
Like Phantasm is understanding of what he means.
Very well. If you are prepared for what comes next, Your Highness,
Yes.
I believe we have something that belongs to you.
Thank you. At this point, Anton reaches up to grab the scabbard.
Whatever barrier was blocking you from grabbing the scabbard, it is no longer blocking you. So you now have the true scabbard of Excalibur.
All right, let's keep putting an end to Kismet.
Yeah.
As you sheath the sword in its true scabbard, the sort of realm around you starts to do that sort of weird, like ripply fading out type of thing. And as it's sort of fading out, the only thing, like, it's sort of fading out with you guys, and for the readers at home in the comic, sort of Umbra and Phantom sort of both are sort of right over by Phantasm, and this is only for like the comic book readers. You sort of like have that whisper, and the whisper is just going to be, it just says is "see you," and then the whole realm fades back away, and you are not standing in the middle of the field where you were, but you're back at the jet.
Just one thing before the realm faded away.
Yep.
Phantasm actually took that relic that he picked up at Stonehenge and gives it to Umbra. And he mouths something that only Umbra can see because, well, he was only looking at him, so he does mouth something to him before the whole fade, though.
You just get a nod. And as I said, you guys are now standing back at the jet with the scabbard of Excalibur in hand.
Lucha's actually looking a little distant suddenly.
You all right, Lucha?
I just thinking something.
What you thinking?
Something you said actually starting to make a little more sense. Now I'm kind of worried what happens if we actually do this.
What do you mean?
If every single thing that we've done has brought us together because of Kismet and her working fate and whatnot, what happens when it's over? If we defeat her, do we undo everything she's done? Including us ever meeting?
I don't know, Lucha.
Van actually you can hear him say this. He says, no. What happened has happened, regardless of her manipulating fate.
Oh, good.
What happens when we defeat her is our lives become one where we don't have to worry about them changing. Our lives no longer are succumbed to her fate. Our lives become what they should actually be.
Good, because
So we go on the correct fate line.
it was better than the boarded fate line. Lucia just kind of looks back at Fate Hands and looks much more comfortable now. So, because I was just remembering what it was like before I met all of you, and I don't want to go back to that.
No, all that you've learned, all that you've come to love, that's what your life has become. That's what your life should be.
Lucia nods and smiles and says, "All right, so what do we do now?"
Well, my castle's floating. We should probably poke it a little bit. It wasn't floating a few thousand years ago.
Yeah, that's got to be a rather recent modification. Do you think you can keep it?
First, maybe, but first, Phantasm. We should go to Merlin's cave.
Well, here's the problem. We don't have our medallions anymore. I can't contact Merlin.
We still have Arthur.
We can try, but we're going to have to find someone.
Phantasm, give me an insight check. You pretty sure you know of another way to contact Merlin? Because it was the ring that Graham was wearing that initially brought you to Merlin. So you think there might be an outside chance that that ring may still allow you to do it. You also know that the ring is back in New Orleans.
Tell me, Arthur, would you rather take care of your castle now or later?
We'll take care of the castle when the time comes.
Okay. Hey, Lutra, you hungry for some gumbo?
And that is the line we're going to end it on because that is a fantastic ending line right there. That's just the last panel of, hey, Lucha, you hungry for some gumbo? Finn.
To see in the background, Lucia's like ears perk up, like, ooh.
Yeah. So, a quick programming note before we sign off here. Next week, we are going to be not back here, but we are going to be back in Middleton City next week because we knew ahead of time that we're going to be minus a dark because he had a power outage this week, so we didn't know. So we're going to be back in Middleton City next week. So it's going to be 2 weeks before you see us back here again. And with that coming up, we are going to be reaching the finale part of Volume 4. So coming up next time we're here, we're going to have the Book of Fate, Chapter 8. Fate, the Final Frontier. It might be part 1, it might not be. Who knows? We'll see how far we get. Anyway, on behalf of Narrator, Crimson Addicts, and OPT Lawyer, I am your host, the Greenleaf Effect, reminding everybody to, of course, keep hailing. And if you have not done so already, please make sure you follow the account on Twitter at Bay City Chronicles. You can also follow the rest of us. Well, most of the rest of us. Nora doesn't have a Twitter, but you can follow us on Twitter at Crimson Addicts, at OPT Lawyer, and at Greenleaf Effect. So if you want to do that, go right ahead. But as I said, thank you all very much for watching and or listening. And whatever you're doing, of course, remember, keep hailing.